Alright, guys, there has been a new Deadlock patch. This was on 4/17 that it went live, so we just had our first day of playing through it, and I like to play a day of these patches before I go over them. That way I have some more insight on the actual patch, and it's not just necessarily predicting what's going to happen, it's having actually played it and seeing the implications of the patch. So, starting off with honestly one of the only negative parts of the patch, in my opinion, so far, is this Soul Orb change. This is also the biggest change in the patch. Soul Orbs no longer have special duplication rules before 8 minutes. Soul splitting rules now the same before 8 minutes as afterwards. Adjusted the trooper economy to compensate. There is also no longer a bounty jump that occurs at 8 minutes. What that's saying is you're no longer getting that split soul bonus for your team. So you are splitting the actual souls in lane, but the troopers now give more souls. So it comes out to actually still getting more souls into the economy. But like if your lane partner dies and you clear a whole wave, you're getting 100% of those souls. Compared to beforehand, when you were each getting 60%, so you actually get 120%, so you'd lose 20% total souls. You're actually not losing those souls anymore, but all of those souls are going to one person. This has led, in my experience so far, to a lot more snowball, and I'm not sure if it's mentioned elsewhere. But so these overall souls are increased. Somebody just mentioned in chat, like on the first wave, it used to be 300 souls every time. Now it's like closer to like 350, 400 souls. Like it is more souls more quickly. This means that if you die early game, you miss out on way more souls and it's way worse for you. So dying early game is really bad now. Or I guess just in general, missing a wave is really, really bad now. Before it was bad, but now it's way worse. And it also seems to have made Snowball worse because the team that is getting more experience is getting more of those souls, which allows them to get their items faster. They're getting their ultis faster so they can kill you faster. It's a much faster paced game. I would say most of my games are 5 to 10 minutes faster, and the souls are getting like astronomically out of hand very quickly. And part of this is last hits are way more important now. I don't know if they mentioned this somewhere, but beforehand, you would get like 33 souls for stealing a last hit. Now you get like 80 souls for stealing a last hit. So getting that last hit secure on the enemy trooper, massively important. Like if you're not last hitting right now or attempting to last hit the enemy troopers, you're going to lose all of your games because you're going to fall so far behind. So if you're just a strict PvP player that didn't care about the souls, you're going to have a really bad time. Okay, now we can move on to the second play. Wave interval increased. Takes a little bit longer for the troopers to get there. Guardian attack range reduced. Guardian's melee attempt reduced. Guardian's melee damage range reduced. All of this has been pretty nice. The Guardian's just a little bit less ornery. But it does mean that you can get pressured a lot easier under your Guardian. So actually clearing the wave and putting on pressure is a lot easier because the Guardian doesn't quite hit you back as often. Players can no longer parry troopers, so no longer cheesing that. Medical trooper doesn't have heal charges anymore. He just heals every 6 seconds. None of this is that big of a deal. Troopers don't aggro you when you shoot them while they're attacking a Guardian. That's pretty nice. The urn reveals you immediately now, so the second you pick it up, you're revealed. There's no more of that weird stealth with it. The first urn does get considered for comeback mechanics. There is a visual now on the model for what side it's going to be on. So if it's neutral, it looks normal. If there's red candles, it means that it's on your enemy's side, etc. So it's pretty straightforward. When you see it, you'd be like, oh, I get it. Very easy. Urn no longer waits indefinitely for somebody to pick him up, so he kind of runs away. If you drop him, you can't just stand by him infinitely. And here's another big one. Heavy melee cancel momentum is significantly reduced. So for those that don't know, when you heavy melee and then you canceled it with an active, you got extra momentum. And if you had the, I don't know what it's called, the heavy punch item, and you did that, it made you supersonic speed. Supersonic. You can still technically heavy melee cancel for momentum, but the way that if you heavy melee canceled without the extra melee range, how far that went, it's even a little bit less than that now with the full combo of items. So heavy melee canceling is essentially dead in terms of movement tech outside of really small situations. And so it's mostly just for melee canceling now. Melee troopers no longer see characters around walls through veils, smooth out their navigation. This is basically a whole section of troopers are less stupid and they do less stupid things. Like they're not afraid of stairs anymore, and they find their way around things a little bit better, and they get stuck a little bit less. I have noticed all of these things to be nice. Troopers are acting more the way that you would expect them to, just kind of go down the lane and do trooper stuff. They do seem to be genuinely less buggy. So heavy melee cancel, really good for the game. All of these changes to the Guardians have been good. The urn change is good, so you can actually see the urns. All of the bug fixes are obviously nice. This soul orb thing, I am not a big fan of. It makes last hitting even more important right now, and it was already super important. So if you're a character like an Ivy or a Pocket who's really good at last hitting, it's so hard to keep up in souls with them. And the snowball does seem to be a lot worse. If this change gets reverted, the rest of the patch is pretty dope. Into the item changes, all of these make sense. Hollow Point got a nerf. Only 70 Spirit Shield now, and it gives you 18% weapon damage instead of 20. People are buying it every game. Healing rate got nerfed. Total HP regen got nerfed, and the cooldown got increased. This item, I don't buy healing rate anymore. I get extra regen. All of the other items, basically, that got nerfed are all still good and still viable, except for healing rate. Healing rate pretty much got put out of the game, and then we'll talk about E-Shift. Heal Bane, heal on kill, got reduced from 350 to 275, still great. Enchanter's Barrier, reduced from 300 to 250, still great. Combat Barrier, 325 to 275, still great. Divine Barrier did get increased by 10 seconds. This is no longer an auto-buy every game. It's still a decent item. You can still buy it. It's still helpful for your team, but I don't think it's a straight auto buy on basically every character anymore. 40 seconds is a decent increase to that cooldown. Resto Locket. You have to be a little bit closer to the target to actually get the stacks, and it heals a little bit less. Debuff Reducer gives you less health, and also the debuff reduction has gone from 28% to 24%. Obviously, you still have to buy Debuff Reducer every single game if they've got Pocket and Furnace, etc. Fortitude, slightly less weapon damage, and the out-of-combat time to heal has been increased by 3 seconds. Still great on all the characters you're buying it on. Phantom Strike, 4-second increase cooldown. Still great on your Moes and whatnot. Spirit Strike has had the resist reduction reduced from 12 to 8%. Is actually a decent little nerf to some early game damage on characters like Bebop Calico who would buy it, but you're still going to get it every game. Decay got slightly nerfed. Health regen reduced 1.5 to 1, Spirit Power 7 to 4, and the cooldown 33 to 36. You're still going to buy it every game when you're playing Shiv to combine with your knives. You're still going to buy it against Shiv all the time in order to Decay on him. You see what I'm saying? Knockdown now removes all momentum and brings the hero straight down. So now when you get knocked down, instead of flying in the direction you were moving, you literally just bloop like an anvil out of the sky. So it's more consistent where the target is going to land after they get knocked down. And here's the big one. E-Shift is now a tier 4 item. All the other changes are kind of irrelevant other than you can cancel it now. So it's a little bit longer. You get a little bit faster in it. You can cancel it early. But now it's a tier 4 item. So instead of being 3,000 souls, it's 6,000. Huge nerf to E-Shift, but a massive buff to characters like Lash, who everybody would just buy E-Shift super early, or even Grey Talon, who people would get the E-Shift super early to not get owled. E-Shift as a tier 4 item is strictly a counter item now, in my opinion. You're not just going to buy it for the stats. It's also like a small nerf to characters like Calico and even Pocket, who would just buy it every single game without ever thinking about it. But, yeah, huge gameplay shift in that one. And then Echo Shard cooldown increase from 21 to 23. Literally no difference. 0% effect on characters like Bebop. What does have an effect on Bebop is he got nerfed. He no longer gets a 1% spirit resist per boon. He lost a little regen, and he lost 1 stamina. Good. Screw Bebop for forever. Calico gets kind of a weird nerf. Base ammo reduced from 12 to 9. Gun damage growth reduced by 25%, and they switched her tier 1, tier 2 bombs upgrades. So Calico is still very good. She's still good at last hitting. She's still good at applying pressure. Kind of a little bit of a strange nerf to her. But honestly, this nerf plus the nerf to E-shift and stuff, I've seen less oppressive Calicos today, so we'll see if that holds up in the long run. Grey Talon got nerfed, but actually escaped pretty easily. Lower HP regen. He gets lower movement speed scaling from Spirit. And then this is the part that I think I've seen a lot of people freak out about. That's actually not a big deal at all. 10 damage off a charge shot, but 0.4 scaling off of charge shot, which you would think would be like, damn, that's going to hurt him a lot, except for they gave him 0.4 scaling on this tier 3 charge shot, which means that once you get the 3rd level of charge shot, you're actually doing the exact same amount of damage minus 10, which is now irrelevant. So Grey Talon is totally fine. He's a little bit less oppressive in the laning phase, but just prioritize getting your tier 3 spirit a little bit earlier. I redid my build order on Talon to just do it like 3 points earlier to make sure I'm getting that damage scaling online, and Grey Talon feels just as strong as he ever has. Hey, Sleep Dogger now causes the target to be unable to slide. It also reduces stamina regen by 60%. This is a big buff for Haze, but I have not seen a single Haze yet do well. It seems that this makes Haze really annoying in the 1v1, potentially, but I haven't been seeing any Hazes get out of the laning phase without getting their absolute ass kicked, because there's so much fighting in the lane, and if you die, you miss out on so much souls that every Haze has been falling so far behind. Bullet dance rate increase, and then the tier 2 got a little bit of a cooldown increase. So, in theory, that's a big buff to Haze. It kind of all is, but she still seems to be one of the worst heroes in the game, down with McGinnis, who also gets buffed. Holiday, base gun damage reduced, gun damage growth reduced. Here's the big one. Lasso bonus bounce pad duration reduced from 1.5 to 1 second. So now when a Holiday lassos you, and then bounce pads, you're not in there for an infinite duration of time. It's still annoying, but a nice nerf to Holiday all around. She seemed less oppressive today. Ivy has a smaller headshot hitbox for some reason, and this got a bug fix. Kelvin no longer has base spirit resist, but now gets 1% per boon. His base sprint was reduced by 0.5. Frozen Shelter has a longer cooldown, and the tier 2 now has 10 seconds off of the cooldown reduction to kind of even this out. Kelvin still seems very strong. His early game, being able to last hit easily with the Frost Beam and snag those last hits is really oppressive. His early game is still strong, and he's still a great support. Calvin is fine. Lady Geist got some bug fixes on her ultimate. Lash gets a small nerf here. Ground Strike base damage reduced by 15, and Death Slam lock-on time was increased by 0.1 second. These are fair changes because of the E-shift nerf. Basically, all Lash ults now come down to is, are you in the right place at the wrong time, and do you not get CC'd before you get out of it? Because E-shift is a very rare item now, and if people are going to buy it, it's not going to be until much later in the game for the full-blown team fights. McGinnis, all of her turrets got buffed in basically every way you can imagine. Tracking speed increase, bullet velocity increase, and duration increase. McGinnis still sucks. Her turrets are annoying, and her laning phase is actually really annoying for holding the Guardians right now with all those turrets, but she still sucks. Mirage, slightly less base health. Hit the mark on T1 Jin, only does a 60% slow now. Oh, slow reduced from 80 to 60. And then bullet resist from minus 10 to minus 8% bullet resist. Mirage is still crushing it. Mo getting a bit of a nerf here, only plus 100 damage on the T2 Burrow. But the Spirit scaling got increased, so it kind of evens out. Combo DPS got reduced, but the Spirit scaling increased. AKA, if you build Spirit Mo, it's basically even, but if you build no Spirit damage, you've lost a little bit of damage. Kinetic Carbine on Paradox. The T2 only gives you 8 seconds off instead of 10 seconds off because we know that it is not a Deadlock patch unless you nerf Paradox. Okay? Those are the rules. Pocket. Base bullet damage reduced. Bullet damage growth has been increased, and they changed his satchel. So now it only does 70 damage at level 1, but then you get an extra 30 damage at the T2 for the satchel. So I'm prioritizing getting this T2 even more now. So on my pocket, I'm putting 1 point in the 1 to get the extra 15 damage on it, and then I'm immediately getting 2 points into the satchel. I think there's an argument to be made to just putting 2 points into the satchel immediately and before anything else. But get that satchel ASAP. Pocket is still totally fine. In fact, I would argue Pocket overall has seen a big buff in this patch from his ability to steal last hits. 7 gets a small nerf to his ultimate. It only does 100 damage on the lightning bolt instead of 150, but it's slightly easier to hit now. They give it an extra meter of radius. Sinclair got a lot of hate because that character was awful to play against, and these nerfs have been felt. Sinclair, still very viable. I've seen a lot of very good Sinclairs today, but the edge does seem to be taken off. Bullet damage reduced from 23 to 20. Fixed Rabbit Hex Amp, not affecting allied damage. It's actually a buff. But Hex damage amp got reduced by 10%. The Spirit scaling got reduced. The tier 3 rabbit actually increases the damage from the amp. The movement speed while you're amped actually gets increased, so you're a little bit of a faster bunny. Hex no longer deals damage. Vexing Bolt also getting a bit of a nerf here. Overall, Sinclair took a bit of the edge off, particularly in the laning phase. When a real good Sinclair comes around, though, you're still going to hate going against him. Vindicta Crow got nerfed, so the cooldown got increased by 2 seconds, and instead of doing a minus 12% reduction, it's a minus 8%. We saw this with a couple of other things as well, like Spirit Strike going from 12 to 8. Seems that they kind of want to reserve that higher level of reduction for things like the crippling headshot. And finally, Warden base health increased by 25, his regen increased by 1, and it fixed a bug with him. Overall, this patch, all of the balancing I think is great. I think all the item balancing is great. No problems. They took the edge off a lot of the OP items. They took a lot of the edge off of the OP characters and did some buffs from some of the lower end characters like Hayes and McGinnis. Balancing, perfect. I not a single complaint about the balancing. A lot of good bug fixes to the troopers. All awesome. Heavy melee cancel getting removed is awesome. I genuinely just think that was not something that added to the game, particularly for the average player in any significant manner. And I don't really think it was a skill cap issue because it was one of those, like, once you knew the mechanic existed, you could just do it every time. And it just meant that characters like Abrams had a get out of jail free card when they already have a get out of jail free card with their ultimates and stuff. So that didn't make any sense. Urn changes, I like them. They all seem good. It's clearer now what side the urn is going to be on. That's great. All of these changes are fantastic, except for the Soul Orb change. If this Soul Orb change wasn't in this patch, this would be an S tier balance patch. Everything else about this patch is perfect. This Soul Orb change, I really don't like after 1 day of playing on it. Maybe it'll grow on me. Maybe it'll start to have some better systems. But after just 1 day of playing it, I immediately want this to be reverted because I see some high-level cheese happening with this as well. I almost guarantee that there will be some level of like Dota-y style situations going on with this change. And what I mean by that is like at the highest level of gameplay, I can see like true supports getting formed. And it's like now your Kelvin or your Dynamo or your whatever skip out on waves and specifically put themselves behind so that your carry gets twice as many souls and your carry gets online faster and gets their items faster so they can carry. And I just don't think that that's healthy for the long term of the game. We're already starting to see it pop up in ranked a little bit. And I bet you if there's like some fight night stuff or whatever goes on, there's going to be a lot of people experimenting with just like giving their carry all of the farm and then letting the supports fall a little bit behind. Probably after the supports get their ultimate, you know, like let Kelvin get his dome and then like now you can start to fall behind in souls because you kind of are doing the thing you're going to do. And I don't even like the idea of that being possible. Hope you guys learned something though from this video today. If you do, make sure you subscribe over on the YouTube to help support the Twitchiest community and come watch us on stream on YouTube or on Twitch every single day.